So today we're in Singapore, and I thought this would just be a magical podcast interview because number one, Ryan and I have never actually gone to a dental office before. We usually do these over Skype or at dental meetings. But when I heard that you and your name is Johnny, but I guess when the book said Johnny Peely. Oh, JP. Oh, that's been out. Okay. So when I heard that Johnny Lee and you met your wife in dental school,
Yes.
Hinly Lau,
Hinly
and Hinly Lau, and you guys been practicing dentistry how long?
Since 1973.
Since 1973.
73, yes.
And then you had a son, Darren Lee,
Mm-hmm.
and like his dad, he met a beautiful dentist in dental school in Brisbane, Australia, Clare Chen, and you guys all work together, and you live together in a nuclear family, which we call it, and I just think it's an amazing story. And then you are a prolific author. I mean, you've written Dusk to Dawn, Laugh, 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 Breaking the Curse of the Green Dragon, Curse of the Green Dragon, On the Road, God in the Mist. So I thought we could probably do the whole interview just on just your books, and I'm prepared to stay all day to cover all these books. But congratulations on it. Just an amazing dental office, dental family, nuclear family.
Yeah, thank you, Howard. Well, to begin with, dentistry was tough, was quite hard work. We started quite humbly in the government service. I was a Colombo Plain scholar. After graduation, I have actually to serve my bond. I need to go back to a place called Sarawak. It is East Malaysia, where I was sent to Singapore to study dentistry. Of course, we got married, and my wife went with me to Sarawak in Kuching to work. But after that, we decided to come back to Singapore. So after 1 year, and then we started off in a government service. My wife was in a teaching hospital in the government too. Then I left and go into private practice as early as 1975. I started, and then after that I started my own practice in 1977. And then when my wife joined me in 1980, then we started from there. It was good. Dentistry was good. It helped us a lot in building our family, our house, and I had 2 children by the time I was in 1985. My second son came along. Well, to put it honestly, I felt I have everything. I felt I completed everything. I have a nice big house. I have cars, and I have children, and I'm working happily. But for me, I felt something was missing in my life. I had everything, but deep inside me, I felt I had nothing. So of course, I went in search of that something. Then I took up a lot of things, recreation, and I took up jogging, and I ran the marathon and all that kind of things. I even took up dancing. I told my wife, let's go dancing. I think we worked so hard, we failed to enjoy ourselves. But to put a long story short, in the end, in 1988, during Chinese New Year, I went for a jog as usual. And it just came clear to me that I knew what was missing in my life, and I could actually see my life clearly on like watching a television. I saw all the things I've done in life. Some of them are good, some are not pretty good. So I see all the mistakes and wrongs I've done, and I never realized that they were wrong. But the beautiful thing is, I felt sorry for them. I felt truly sorry, and I must admit it, I wept while I was jogging on a public road somewhere beside a drain, and I couldn't control myself. I actually sat down on the floor and on the ground, and I just cried and cried. There were other joggers passing by. They thought I was mad or crazy, you know. But anyway, to cut it short, that was the turning point. Then I started searching. I said I knew what's wrong. All the things are inside me. The answers are all inside me. So in the process, I was a cradle Catholic, but lapsed. And then the first thing I did was I went to look for spiritual guidance. I met a priest who helped me to. So then I take leave and vacation in search. You know, when anyone search for something, that usually they know what they're searching for. That you're looking for a product, you're looking for a place, you might even be looking for a certain specific particular person. But I was searching, but I don't know what I was searching for. I was just searching. And then it was quite long before I finally realized that I was actually searching for myself. And in the process, I found myself. And that was, I would say, the turning point in my life. And I started attending religious retreats. I went to a monastery in England, North Wales, where I stayed for 1 full month on what they call the silent spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius. And after that, I began to write about my experience, what I have found and how blessed I was and what life meant for me, what is the real meaning and purpose in my life. And I started off with a book called Dusk to Dawn. Dusk to Dawn essentially is like me entering into the darkness, not knowing what I'm going in for. It was frightening at first because it's dark. Dark physically and dark in the sense that I know nothing. And it's actually about my search, and that gave me hope and perseverance. And then in the end, yes, there was light. Light came, and I call it dawn. Dawn means, although it's light and bright and morning, it also means knowledge. I suddenly knew what it was I have to look for, and what I have to do through my contact, and how do I tie in my life with my work in dentistry. And then my attitude towards my work, towards my patient changed very drastically. I was no longer there just for a job, do the business, treat the patients, earn some money. No longer that. I started to treat the person. I started getting interested in people, start talking to them, and then they start telling me about their problems, what difficulties they have, their financial difficulties, their problems at home, their problems with the breakup with the family, wives, lovers, whatever, you know. And somehow or other, I was able to give some little advice here and there, but things that I said, I can't remember all the things I've said, but surprisingly, it helped these people, and I didn't know it. I didn't know it helped them, because later on when they came back for their second visit or whatever, they told me about it. You know, what you said was very prophetic. It meant a lot to me. Thank you very much. And then that's how I saw what are the things I have to do besides just dentistry. I was full-time in dentistry. I still am. So I have this calling, and I have the energy to just write my books late into the nights, you know, or on weekends, or wherever time I can find. Now I do make time for all these things. Previously, I just do it at night, and there is this active, loving energy that just drives me on. I can just do it. I still come back to work, you know. And it is really a very, how should I put it? I experience what I would say a great gentleness. Something that is very gentle. So sometimes when I do things, I experience that I'm being ordered. I'm being forced in a way to say, you do this, you must do that. No, this is not. This is something that is not persuasive, but just stay with me gently, telling me like, when you are ready, you do this, you do that. And they all came to be, and all the books I've written are about my experiences. And they are all about my own personal experiences, except these two books. Started off with Curse of the Green Dragon. It is a novel, and I remember things my mother used to tell me when I was a kid about Hakkas. We are a dialect group called Hakkas. You know, they are actually like gypsies of China. They are people. They are migratory race. They move and they move and they move. You know, and so I asked my mom. I said, "Those things you told me, were they just stories or they fairy tales or what?" I said, "No, they are true. It's our culture. It's our tradition." So I went to research. I went to look for it. Then I found an answer. I've been writing books about God, about scriptures, you know, about Jesus Christ and love and conversion and all that. But I realized that I need to write to the other people who are non-Christians. I want them to know about love, about the sufferings people have, about the presence of evil and whatnot. So I said, why not I write it in a story? I don't have to talk about God. I don't need to mention scriptures, but it's all in there because it's all about our struggle. It's about love. It's about the trauma in life. It's about deceit. It's about broken promises. This is about failures, and it's about reconciliation. It's about discovery and rediscovery. And so I wrote it in a story. And it was very well taken because a lot of radio channels, 3 radio channels pick up my story, they read my book, and I was interviewed on them. And I of course, I start by talking factual things like the Hakkas, the migration, and the story behind that. Because in my book, I actually talk about Hakka families. Those are fictitious, of course. I created the characters. And then I mix facts with fiction. For example, there are a lot of periods and actual dates of events, people, and even political situation, and even the what I call disasters like the eruptions of Krakatoa. Remember the volcanic eruption? I actually just throw my characters inside there. They play out the scene, what happened, how they survived, how they whatnot, and how the family actually started off in a very sad and solemn way, and how they suffered. Then eventually, they make mistakes. They made a lot of mistakes. So the theme of my book actually is the inheritance of sin. We inherit a lot of things. We can inherit wealth, we can inherit genes and whatnot. But we also inherit spiritual genes, like the bad things in our life, the curses and the things. So I actually wrote about that, about the sin of the family, how it was passed down. And then in those old days, these Hakkas, because they live in the jungle, because they are migratory people, and when they reach a new town, they are considered as foreigners. They are visitors. Hakkas means family, home. So they are actually visitors. They don't own, they don't belong to that province in China, but they come as guests, and they come as a family. So Hakka means guest family. So my story went on that these people were always on the run, on the migratory, and how they are migratory process, and how they are different from the other Chinese. For example, the woman can't have their feet bound, because if they have small feet, they can't work in the farms. The ladies, the women in the family look after the farms, and they raise the children. They do the cooking and all that. They actually work very hard. So there were other Chinese dialect group that thinks that Chinese Hakka's families, in the Hakka's family, the men bullies the wives and make them work. It's not true. The fact, as I researched, was because the men have to protect the race, because they were always being persecuted and hunted. So they are always looking for new routes to migrate, and they build round buildings. Their houses are round. They're different from others because it's like a fortress. Because people invade them and try to chase them out. Get out of our place. Get out. We don't want you here. Because they are different breed. They eat different things. They have different beliefs. But their beliefs and the traditions were original. They is passed down from the very beginning. Whereas the other Chinese compromise with the people who conquer their land. Even their religion, everything changed because they were fearful of the conquerors. Hakkas are not. They are not afraid. So if I can't solve the problem, I run. I'm not going to stay here and follow your rules and live a life that is not our Chinese way of life. So that's why they are. You find Hakkas all over the world. In America, a lot in England. The first group that went to Manchester because then they need machinists, they need people to dig. They were building railroads. When railroads started in America, a lot of Hakkas went there. Those are all Hakkas because they are a migratory group. This is interesting, because they actually have migration in the blood. Let's say you have a company of all Chinese in one company, and then the directors or president needs somebody. I need a volunteer. You need to go to somewhere, maybe somewhere in the jungle, somewhere or far away. There is a job I want you to go. The Hakkas will be the one who volunteer because it's in the blood. They're not afraid to travel. They're not afraid to go to an unknown place or unknown territory. That is factual. You know, of course, there are a lot more I can tell you, but this is, I don't think you are interviewing me for this, but you can find it all in my book. I have got a website. You can actually look into it. You can buy these books on Amazon. These two books, these two novels. They're written in a form of novels of 5 generations. This book was so well taken, I have to write a sequel. This is the sequel to the book. It makes no difference which book you read first. Doesn't matter. It's like Star Wars. If you read this book, you are reading what happened now. So if you read that book, you're going back to the history. How did it start? Who are all these characters that he's talking about? No difference. But it'd be good to read this book because there's a certain type of mystery that I thrown in a little bit.
So tell us about this book.
Yes. This book is already about more or less the present presented, what happened now he was born and then in Sarawak, and how he grew up and he came to Singapore and he actually interacted with Lee Kuan Yew, you know. His father did. It's fiction. I mentioned it is all fiction. Any interaction between my characters and actual people are fictitious. I say it's just something that I write because I wanted to create a drama. I wanted to create a sense of what do you call it? Realism, some reality, because it's associated with an actual event, an actual person. But the stories are actually fictitious. They are not true. So that's how I wrote the book. And the radio station pick it up quite a lot. The newspapers pick up, Straits Times pick up. The newspaper in my country, in Sarawak, pick up the story. They gave me the blurb to write. And Malaysia, the Star, pick up. Sarawak is the Sarawak Tribune. Singapore was the Straits Times. So all these books are quite have got quite great testimonies on them, and that's why they can sell quite well. And these are all religious books. They are spiritual. They are personal. But this is about my trip to Spain. We were supposed to go for a holiday, and then we wanted to go to Fatima for the October 15 celebration of, I think you know the story about Fatima and the miracles that take place there. And this book is about my journey and the spiritual experience I have. And I decided to share it so that pilgrims who go there will kind of not just go there for a holiday, but go there and find yourself, go there and find peace, find God, and learn to accept and love people as they are, you know. The most beautiful thing that I found out about myself is, in the end, I discovered all my faults and failures, but the beautiful thing was I could laugh at myself, you know. I wasn't angry or disappointed. I could laugh. I said, oh dear, no wonder now I can accept other people as they are. Because that's who you are, and you just need to find it and find yourself. And so that's how I've been living my life, and I'm still writing. I have a lot of things written. I save them in my computer. So most of them are things that people shared with me. Some of them are my patients. A lot of them are actually my friends or my prayer group, people in my prayer groups and all that. I write it now. I keep a record of it, because those are real life true stories. And if I should write any future books, I might use some of these materials to support what I want to tell.
Now, Fatima is in Portugal. Lourdes is in
France.
France.
Yeah, I went to France too. I covered 3 countries. I went to Spain from, I think we started from Madrid. And then we go to all those little towns around the place. This is actually a simple map of the places that I visited. Under each place, some people saw it as a travel book, because I give details of hotels, how much it costs, and where you can get where you can get cheap rental for not only rooms but even cars and things like that, and food, you know, and so on. It's very thrifty. It's not expensive. And we didn't book anything except in Fatima, because that is a highlight. There is a lot of there will be a lot of pilgrims there. The hotels and all that will be full, you know. So we booked that one in advance. All the others we just went on our own, and kind of, I would say, we let God lead us. And it's beautiful. That's why in the end I have to write a book about it, because I'm also sharing how God plays a part and how I'm being blessed and being open is important to me. I say being open means I'm able to see the signposts. Sometimes I pray, I don't get answers. Then in the end I realize that I have to look for signposts, because God doesn't speak to me like we speak to one another. No, it's not like that. You have to look out for signs. either an event or even from a movie, or hearing a story that someone is talking about, or listening to music, or listening to, sometimes it come in the form of readings from the Sunday services we attend, then it has meaning. I write all this down, I record it. Nowadays it's very easy because we have got mobiles and we can just put in all the things there. I save it there and I just retrieve it if I need to find it, you see. And perhaps I should maybe slow down a bit. You can see that I'm outpouring myself because it comes from within me, so it's not difficult to share that. Maybe you might like to talk to the others, or I will be happy to answer any questions you ask me.
Well, you've covered all the books. You covered this. You got 2 more series to cover.
This is interesting.
You've written so many books, you
notice
forgot
I
how
don't
many
use
books you've
JP Lee anymore. I changed to Many Loves. I changed to Many Loves because this is a completely different genre. This happened at a time when we have the terrible SARS in Singapore. When then I felt very sad because Tan Tock Seng Hospital is just behind us, just nearby. And when I read in the papers that people, taxis, transport company are trying to avoid the nurses because all the SARS patients are being quarantined at Tan Tock Seng Hospital for.
Refresh them about SARS. What was SARS? What year was that?
2003 or 4. Around there.
And was it a virus or a
It was a virus. SARS is.
It's a respiratory virus that killed quite a number of people. It's actually around this area. It was a respiratory disease that killed people, and in Singapore there was quite a number succumbed to the sickness. And during that time, I think it's more in our Asian country. Because it seems that some of them had traveled to the Middle East. They carried the disease back. And it was a very, very sad time. It was a lot of deaths. And Tan Tock Seng Hospital, just next door, it became the quarantine center. So it was really the first time Singapore had such a disaster, actually, I would call it. And he started writing this book to cheer people up.
Did it scare you at the time?
Yes, it was scary. Yes.
By breathing?
Yes. So we have to stop our clinic, to close our clinic.
For how long?
For I think about a few weeks to a month. People were just not coming. We'd be 10 patients away, and temperature has to be taken. And we have to wear all the protective gears and a lot of things. So that's where Singapore started to have, was compulsory. Compulsory, you have all protection. And even tourists coming in through the airport to all the centers, they have to be monitored. They were all a temperature taken. There's some monitoring through the airport. Yeah, it was a bad time.
How many people end up dying?
I think in Singapore about 30.
About 300 to 500, maybe less, But it is scary. It's scary. Could be more. I can't remember
No,
the
in
figures
Singapore
now.
not that many. Singapore was 100 plus, but over Hong Kong was the worst.
Yeah,
How many in Hong Kong?
I can't remember. It was very bad.
but it really kills you. It kills. I remember now. It's called severe acute respiratory syndrome. It just go into your lungs and everything just dissolve off, and the bacteria just attack. The virus, and the person will just die. You develop high fever and you can't breathe. And
so I want to touch on when I go around the world, whether it be India or United States or Brazil, about a third of the dentists have a dentist in their family tree, a mom, a dad, an uncle. I've been in homes in India and Brazil where there were 25 dentists in their family tree. And a lot of these places have the nuclear family. Like, you guys work together, you live together. I've been in India and Brazil where 25 dentists literally live together and work together. So you're talking to a lot of young kids in dental school. They're dating a dentist in their class. They're going to get married. Maybe between those two dentists, probably one of their dads or moms is a dentist. What advice would you give? Because you guys have been doing this. I don't want to give away your age, but you guys have been doing this for a while. What advice would you give for families to work together, live together? How do you all get along?
Oh, we get along very well. We get along very well. But we make it a point sometime over dinner we will talk about our daily encounters with patients, and we discuss on enlightening each other with the treatment, because different people have different approaches. And of course at work, we think for each other. So it becomes a very closely knitted family.
And
What should I say?
And also we give encouragement. Sometimes when we have difficulties or whatnot, instead of giving up, we give encouragement, what I would call perseverance in a lot of things. And in my books, I talk about that. Yeah. And so that's also the reason why I start writing books, because I collect materials from people. I interview them too sometimes if I need to. And my books are, you can call it self-help or self-improvement things, all written in different ways. The book Laugh, Laugh, Laugh is a humorous book. It's not just one or it's not just labeled from number 1 to number 100. No, it's a story. It's written in the form of a story, so that you just read on and one after another. And it's also a little bit of a satire.
Was this your last series?
This one was later on. I realized that
Was this the last three?
this is the last series. Yes, I decided to write.
God in the Mist 2, God in the Mist 3. So what is? Tell us about this 3
Yes.
series.
This one actually came because I got some feedback from some of my regular readers. They told me that your books are interesting, but they're very long, and a lot of stories in there, and we got to read a lot, and then there are a lot of like side plots, and we really have to have time to read them. So, but the materials are actually very good, and a lot of them are actually quite self-helping. And so after that, I said, why don't I just tell 1 or 2 things and make it easier for people to read? So I came up with smaller books. And basically, my topic is searching. Right? I said, as I shared earlier. So in this case, of course, we are searching for God. So if I can't find God, it means that God is hidden. He is not hiding, but He is hidden by me somehow. There are things I do not want to see. And so my God is like being hidden somewhere behind a curtain. Later on, I found the word. God is in the mist. I can't see Him. He's there. So I need to go into the mist and search for God. And it will become like an exploration. You have to sort of like throw yourself into the wind and go, kind of things like that. And without any expectations, without knowledge of what you're looking for, just go. And so I find that the first one was very well taken, so much so until I have to reprint another set, and I did a second edition. So after that, I started writing God in the Mist 2, which covers more on prayer and how to trust God. Inside, I also mentioned something about some miracles that happen, the power of prayer. This is more about, it's called harnessing the wind, how we can make use of everything that's within us, even our anger, our frustration or whatnot. How do you change it into something good? Just like you would change or transform a raging waterfall into driving electricity. Turn into something that helps you, something that is good. So, of course, I'm talking about spiritual transformation. Your anger inside, your hatred or whatnot, how you transform it into something useful for yourself and even for others. How to grow that, plant love out of that. So this is my latest book.
Well, I hope you get on Dental Town, where you can post a picture of that book and a link to where to buy it on Amazon. But you could tell the 210,000 dentists, why about your book. I think a lot would help it. And I want to ask you specifically, when you're talking, when you watch dentists on Dental Town, a lot of dentists suffer from burnout,
Yes.
depression. In the United States, about 18% of dentists sometime in their career will be treated in a hospital for alcohol.
Yeah.
So they have a high suicide rate. What tips do you think you give them to avoid burnout, depression, alcoholism, suicide? Because you've been practicing this. How many years have you been practicing? 40?
Since 73, that makes it how many years? 43 years.
So you two have been doing this 43 years. What advice would you give to some young dentist listening to you now who's burned out? When he goes home, he has to drink alcohol, pass out.
Very good question. Yeah.
I had a burnout in, I think, about 15 years ago. There was a time I felt that I just wanted to give up dentistry. Because all the time we're thinking of making money, meeting patients. You know, when dental patients are not pleasant, when they come in, it's always painful. And I was dealing with patients who were so scared of you, who have fearful first words, say, I'm so frightened, to sit on this chair. I'm very frightened. So that already put you at like a little bit of standoff. So at what angle am I coming in to treat this particular patient? So all the time, I was so, did not handle the situation well enough. And all the time, at the same time, at the back of your mind, I want to make money. I want to buy this, I want to buy that. I want to travel. But of course, the money is from the patient. So in the end, when he went away to St. Barnabas, I was alone at home. And it was so happy, it was during the Good Friday season. So all right, I said, okay, I'll just place myself in front of the crucifix and just do my meditation. But the beautiful things, it revealed to me the word, just the simple word, love. The word just appeared on the crucifix, love. So suddenly that changed my concept and why I'm treating patient. Not for the money, but to give and channel love to the patient. From within me, I don't bother about the money making. God will take care of it, whatever you need. So subsequently after that, I enjoyed all my patients, enjoy my days at my dental work, because I just flow with the patient. I see the patients coming in as somebody who is needing love. And I give myself to the patient so that in the end, I find I enjoy my work. Really, I enjoyed it. And seeing different patients coming in, there are different people. And so at the time when I was born, I wanted to give up dentistry. I even went to the university to gather curriculums to do psychology and philosophy. But the thought of going through exam every year, that put me off. So when this turned around, I've enjoyed dentistry, enjoyed my patient ever since. And even though at the time, that was about 3 years ago, I was working only 3 days a week. But I come back to work, and I still enjoy my, even though I was off once a week, I still find it's good time, and I spend time with my patient. There was a real burnout. I just want to give up everything. So, yeah, just treating patient, not just thinking of the money, what you can achieve, but it's the love that you can give. It's a care. And treating the patient holistically, not just the mouth and teeth, but as a person. That's where I put myself, and I enjoy the industry, and the burnout just disappeared. And I enjoy it. Become every day. I'm going in to see my patient, and it's going to be a good day.
Very good. Yes. So basically what I want to say is I agree everything with what my wife has done. And I have learned also a lot from her, because she has got more depth into this sort of thing about caring and loving, like a mother, But basically for myself, what I do is I have to acknowledge that problems are always there. Not just at work with patients, but sometimes with people outside anywhere. So they can be rude to you, they can say bad things about you, they can curse you and all that. So we get disturbed, by people. But then there again, we have to live with people. They are there. You can't get rid of them. So I learned one thing. One thing that I learned is I have to learn to not let this thing affect me by doing some breath work. Because many a times, especially in the Chinese culture, we always brought up telling us, don't be too busybody, don't worry about other people, let them say what they want, don't care, Well, just forget about it and then turn your attention to something else. We are it's supposed to teach us to be polite, not to be rude, But sometimes there are things that you cannot just ignore, For example, if you read my books, you realize that I put a lot of emphasis on telling the truth. Like if somebody accuses you wrongly, I cannot just ignore it. I have to tell him, no, you're wrong. That's not the way it is. It didn't happen like this, but I need to deal with it. For me, in my book, when I wrote about this thing, I call it arresting the problem. Just as a policeman would arrest a criminal who have ran into a building and hide. But if you know who the criminal is, if you have a photograph, you can identify him. So the breathing process helped me to be conscious. How does it help? Two ways, because we need to breathe to stay alive, number one. Secondly, scripturally also we know our breath is the breath of God, is the Spirit of God. If and our breath, the oxygen we have is free. It's given to us freely. And when I breathe consciously, if I do it often enough and deep enough, I will know. Because sometimes the worst thing is when you have a problem and you don't know what it is. So you've got to find out where is it and where does it come from. It is there. It is inside you. So by breathing consciously, I became aware. I said, oh yes, this is the problem. It's this guy. He has done this to me. He has said this. I was trying to mask it by covering up. So when I become conscious, I breathe in and then I will hold my breath. Holding my breath is important. It helped me to identify and name that particular problem. So I hold my breath for about 3 to 7 seconds. And once I acknowledge that, what do? Just like any rubbish, you have to throw it. You don't keep rubbish in the house. You sweep them around, you put them in your rubbish bin, and then what do? You don't keep it there, you got to throw it somewhere. So by breathing out, I am actually throwing away. That's how I bring myself back and heal myself. Then I will have clarity. I will know, tomorrow I got to talk to this guy. Say, for example, if it's regarding something that he has said, which is not true. You know what? I don't want to keep it because now I already know what it is. I'm at peace with myself. I'm at peace with God. I have to be at peace with the other guy too. So it goes around like that. So basically, this is how I deal with my problems. I do that. And I do it every day. Usually at night, so that I have a good night's sleep. When I wake up, I'm ready. Let's go again, So I try not to carry it to sleep. And then after a while, you forget it, and it's very hard to retrieve. Any psychologist will tell you that. But that's why my priest taught me that, and we have done some work together, some priests that I work with. We call it the healing of memories. Sometimes we forget things, and then we are in trouble. Because anything, like I said, external can trigger off that thing, and you behave or act in a manner that in the end you said, what the hell did I do? What have I done? Because you don't know what you have done, and you don't know why you do it, because you didn't know what caused it. So that I don't know whether you understand what I mean in this. It took me a long way to explain it, but there are probably other easier way. But that's how I work with it, and it's very important that I and people understand what this is all about, so that we can find healing. And that's how I deal with my daily problems. It works for me. I'm not saying that it will work for everybody, but it works for me. And my friend always said, "Oh, you are very daring, huh? You are not afraid, huh?" I said, put it this way, I learned something in my retreat when I went for a silent retreat in St. Bynos. That is in Wales, in North England. I learned one thing, that you have to be in a silence. You have to keep still. And then I have this imaginary thing that came to my mind, where I was taught that one fine day, something about fear. Why am I so scared and afraid to do this? Then the only person who can help me, I felt at that time, was God. And I came up with a story that I heard somewhat similar, but I wrote it in my book because it helped me. So I was thinking of a story where, like, for example, there was one day when God was so busy with so many people coming to him for help. Then he said, I think I better go and take a holiday and rest. So he assembled his counselors from heaven and said, what do you propose? So this first chap said, oh, you should go deep down the ocean bed. It's very cold. It's very deep inside. Nobody will go there. They will never find you there. God said, no. These human beings, they are so good. They will dig into the depths of it. They will find me. The second chap said, perhaps you should go to the far side of the moon. It's so far away and so dark. No one will go there and look for you. So what are you talking about? The man has already conquered the moon. There are such great explorers outside everywhere. No, they will find me. It took an old sage, an old man, to stood up. Lord, I know where is the perfect place. Hide in the human heart. I said, why? Because they are so scared to enter into themselves. They will never find you. I wrote this story, so it works for me. So I find that my answers are all inside here. It is in me. Everything is me. Every problem is mine, and I have to find it inside where God dwells, and that is the truth. And only God is truth. So the way I handle and live my life, a lot of it is actually very spiritual, because I have found someone that actually cares and help me, and that is why I'm sharing it, because this is my testimony that we need divine intervention. We do everything obediently. If we are sick, go and see the doctor, get diagnosed, get the treatment, do it, cooperate with the doctors. Then the other things that the doctors can't do, we pray. Because God will only help you when you cannot help yourself. If you can fix the bicycle, He's not going to fix for you. So you do it. So if you don't want to do it because you are lazy, it's not God's fault. So that's my belief. And I actually endorse that. What you can do by yourself, do it. What you cannot do it, what you cannot do, what you can't help, you have to leave it to the divine. And you have to, that's where your faith, I would say my faith, all right? I don't want to sound too preachy. That's where my faith comes in, because I say, okay, Lord, I've done everything. It's now your turn. It works. It works for me. It really is, and that is my testimony. We are talking about dentistry or that, but my dentistry is nothing without Him. I will be doing a lot of things which may not be correct, which may not be in the right attitude, which may not be full, but it's God who will help me. He said, do this, do this, do this. Don't make shortcut. Don't compromise. Don't do this. Because when I become aware of the divine, I also become more sensitive to errors. I'm very sensitive to mistakes. Oh no, this is not right. I can't do this. So sometimes it's already done. But it's very strange. God will give you another opportunity. That same patient will come back. Say, oh God, doctor, you did, the pain is terrible, Then you look at it, oh dear, I did not do it properly. Let's do it again. So I in a way, I would say, sometimes I'm given a second chance to redeem myself. So, but all this has to come from the truth in your heart. Because I can just bury it and say, just hope for the best. Doesn't matter, but doesn't work for me anymore that way. I have to make it right,
Darren, I want to ask you and Claire a question. Lots of fans of the podcast are dental students, and when they graduate, they're going to go work with mom and dad. And I was wondering, what advice do you give to young dentists what issues do they see? They say things in dental school like, well, what do you do if you come out and your dental school taught you lateral condensation and your dad uses Sargenti? Or what issues? You guys have been working with your mom and dad for what, a decade? How many years?
I graduated in 2002. I came back in 2004, so it's about 12 years now.
So
12 years.
What advice would you give these kids who are going to leave dental school and someday then they want to work with their parents, and you and Claire are married? You met in dental school, you married after dental school,
Yep.
and now you worked with your parents for a decade.
I think we do have a bit of certain differences in the way we practice, but assuming you're working with your parents or your family, someone in the family, I think what's important is always discussion. And if they like to do things like what you said, maybe lateral condensation, or now we are actually using a warm condensation. So how it works and why it works, and describe it and talk to them in discuss with your family. It's a lot different if you're working for principal dentist. I think the relationship's a little bit different then. But if you're working with family, I think it always works out well to discuss with them first and get everyone on the same page. And I think in the end, everything works out quite well. A lot of it comes to talking amongst yourselves and discussion. Like, I mean, we were quite fortunate. We are able to discuss at home because we live together. But if not, set a certain time each day when it comes to the running of the practice and things like that, to actually talk about things that can be improved or new methods that you may have learned, and how it works, and get them to get everyone to understand how it works. It may not work all the time. You could be wrong, and they would tell you, no, I think it should be done this way, and this is why it should be done this way, and get everyone to brainstorm together and actually agree on something, and that's when then everything will work out together. Rather than having different, very, very different practices in the same clinic, I think that makes it quite difficult if everyone is doing their own thing, their own way, and patients ask, why are you doing it this way and this person does it that way, and you're in the same clinic. So for a clinical setting, it doesn't work as well. So you do have to discuss amongst each other to let everyone be on the same page. It doesn't have to be the way you are doing it, but it may be the way that someone else does it, and what works best for the clinic at that point in time. I think that's probably the best thing that you can do if you're working as a family. Yeah.
What would you like to add, Claire?
I think there are different ways to solve a problem. So always keep an open mind and just listen to recommendations from the others. And dentistry itself, the technology is always going to improve. So continuing education, updating yourself all the time. That's what we do as well. So that really helps. So of course, whatever we learn in dental school, sometimes it may not be even applicable now. And it's talking about 10 years or so. So you always have to, update yourself on the latest knowledge, technology, and things like that.
Do you guys like doing different stuff? Like, does one person like kids? Does one like root canals? Does one like extractions? Does one like, do you divide, or do you all do the same stuff?
More or less all the same stuff. But,
Almost all.
Almost. We are general practitioners, but implant, I don't like implants. So I had my cases to him.
Yeah. Are you the only one that does implants?
I do quite a bit of placement of implants, but when it involves things like sinus lifts and things like that, we do have a consultant, a specialist who does come in and do the work for us then. But
so you have a specialist come in?
Yeah, we do get a specialist to come in to.
Does that work better than referring out to a specialist somewhere else?
I think patients like it because they are comfortable with your clinical setting, and if you have to get them to go to another clinic, some patients may not like it because it's a totally new, different clinic. They have to get used to, first and foremost, the clinic setting itself and the practitioner itself. Whereas if they were to do it in your clinic, it kind of like you remove one half of the things that the patient has to get used to, and yeah, we've asked our patients, and some cases we used to send out previously, and patients always ask, why can't they come here? Why can't they do it here? Or why can't you do it? And then when we talk to patients like that, we realize that they're actually very comfortable with being with you in the clinic, but I think with the clinic setting as well.
So what specialists come in here?
Currently, we only have an oral surgeon who comes in, 2 oral surgeons, but generally only oral surgery now.
How often do they come in?
About once a week on a fixed day, but we are quite fortunate that she works quite nearby, so she's able to come in on days that patients are unable to make it on the day that she's scheduled to be here, so she can actually see if she can come down then.
So only oral surgery do you bring in?
Yep.
And besides your mom not wanting to place implants, other than that, everyone divides up everything equally. Kids.
I think we
dentures,
do.
fillings.
I personally don't do things like braces, ortho on my side, but I think
anybody
my
else?
mom and Claire.
Oh, that's right. You
Yeah.
you and your mother, you and your mother-in-law
Yes,
are the only two that do the ortho.
that's right.
So talk about that. What kind of ortho are you doing? When did you get into orthodontics?
Oh, I did it when I first came back, from Kuching, from Sarawak. I joined the government service, and they asked me what further study do I want to. So I said, all right, I'll only think of, at the moment, I said, okay, orthodontics. But so happened that when I was trying to go through all my basic that I've learned in my undergrad, say like anatomy, physiology. I was doing it on my own, trying to recap, fresh myself up. I was having Darren, and now and then, whenever I opened a book, and there he was climbing on top, Mommy, I want to sit with you. I couldn't bring myself to study it, and I felt also because he was very young then, he was only about 1 plus or 2, looking at him and coming back home sometimes from late night dinners and saw him clutching my sleepers, clutching my house coat just to get himself to sleep. I said, how can I go away for 2 years leaving him alone like this? So I forgot the idea of doing specializing in orthodontics. But as time goes on, I find myself being drawn to seeing people with crooked teeth. Because basically I like aesthetics. I even thought of at the time opening a boutique, helping people in Singapore to dress. So I said, looking at people with crooked teeth, I said, no, it doesn't look very aesthetic. So I said, I would like to help people to make them look pretty. So whenever there are courses on, I would attend. And I enjoyed it, seeing the patient getting prettier and prettier, having the teeth straightened out. I enjoy even though I like to do orthodontics, but I like to do general dentistry because I find it less boring. Just to look into my mouth every day, wires and wires and wires, but I can do other things. And I like challenges, especially root canal. Unless I really can't do it, then I'll refer out. If I can, I'll do what I can, and I enjoy the challenge. So I would say I'm more a general practitioner, but I just don't like handling OS as oral surgery. But I do things like surgical extraction, if it's feasible for me within my scope. I'll do it. Even apicectomy, I'll do it, but not implant, because I hate to see people in pain, because I feel it. My heart feels it when I do a cut. So when I do oral surgery, like a surgical removal, I have to brace myself up. No, it's for the patient. I shouldn't feel it. So I put a screen in front of me that, no, I don't feel the pain. I don't feel it. because that's why I find it's difficult to do for my, let's say my mother or even my father at the time, any extraction. I have to brace myself. It was very, very stressful because I feel the pain. So this is that's how I started orthodontics, because I like people to look nice.
How about you, Claire? When did you get into orthodontics?
Probably almost 10 years, I would say.
10 years?
Yeah. Right, about 10 years, right?
Since you started.
Yeah, since I started.
About 40 years.
I've always been interested in this particular field of work back in university days, and finally got a chance to do one of those continuing education courses. Yeah.
Which one did you do?
Progressive.
Is that POS?
Yes,
POS?
that's right.
They
From
teach
US.
all over the world, don't they?
That's right.
So what is it? POS? Is it POSortho.com? Or
Yes, progressive orthodontic.
Progressive Orthodontic
Seminars. Yes,
Seminars.com. Okay.
yes. Actually, I'm not really sure about the website address, but I think you Google it, you should be able to find it.
And
But
so
then-
you went through
but
that program.
That yes, and then attending a few of the symposiums. They do have regular updates from. I mean, there are many systems out there, so I just go for all the updates and symposiums. Once or twice. I think they do have it every year. Yeah, so always go for that. And
So are you doing more fixed braces or more removable clear aligners, or is it more on children or is it more on adults? What's your ortho market like?
here, well, particularly in our clinic, I personally see more fixed braces for myself. I'm not sure about mom.
I do a mixture.
A mixture.
But is it more
mine's
fixed
probably a
braces
little
for
bit
children
more.
or more adults?
More for children and adults now, because of clear aligners, they choose that. But sometimes I weigh the pros and cons. If it costs more to do clear aligners, I would recommend them. Fixed braces is cheaper, but if you really want clear aligners, we go ahead with clear aligners.
So is
That's right.
that it?
I think so. Yes,
So it's POS Ortho.
that's right.
Okay. So other than so we've talked about implants, we talked about ortho. Is there any technology that you guys have bought that you like? I mean, is there anything like, say, lasers or CBCT or CAD CAM or anything that you guys?
Yeah, I think we currently do have a CBCT machine in the radiography room. Claire and I are actually also thinking about attending a certification course for laser within this couple of this year, hopefully. Yeah, there's one that's coming up, but we can't attend it. But I think there should be another one coming, and I'm actually looking into
which laser and for what procedures?
the one that we saw the other time.
What would the laser
Soft
be used
ti-
for?
I think everything. They had soft tissue and hard tissue as well. Yeah. So there's the Serona, the Serona laser machine, and I'm also looking into. We're actually in the midst of thinking of getting a CAD/CAM scanner as well, and eventually move into CAD/CAM machines and things like that in the near future. So yeah, we are looking into it. Because there's actually a big symposium coming up in Singapore, so we're gonna tag on to that and see if we
The
can
one
get
in
any.
April?
Yes, the one that you were here. I think Dental Town was here about 2 years back. Yeah,
That symposium's every other year.
every 2 years.
Every
Yes,
2 years.
every 2
Even
years. Yes, yes, correct. Yeah, the even years. Yeah. So I mean, the technology-wise, I think we've set up the CBCT, and we're looking into other avenues as well. And yeah, so yes, we are.
Well, I think since your father has written so many books that it is not too much for me to ask him to write an article for Dental Town. We have a magazine. It's 125 pages. It goes to all the 125,000 American dentists every month. And then digitally, it's sent all over the world. But I was wondering if someday you might have the time to summarize all of these books into one article on advice. For I think you're in a position in life where you said you're coming up on 70 years old, and most of the viewers here are coming out of dental school at about 25 years old, so you have a little head start on them. And like I say, I think you have to get your mental health in line before you can focus on oral health. And I think it'd be a neat article about how do you keep your head on straight and avoid burnout, depression, alcoholism. It's a tough job because if you have a restaurant, everybody that comes in is happy to see you because they're going to eat food. And then when you have a dental office, everyone that's come in is grouchy and in pain and feisty and upset, and it beats on you. It wears you down. And so if you ever would grace us with an article on that for Dental Town, and it would, I'm sure it would increase the number of sales of your books on Amazon. But I think you guys are an adorable family. I just think you guys are just amazing. And thank you for picking me up and taking me out for dinner the other night. Thank you for inviting me into your practice. And just thank you for all that you've done for dentistry. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
This was just fantastic. Thank you very much.